life upon the road. I'm still looking for some gold at the end of my rainbow. Yes, and someday I will find her on the Parkway Blue Blinder.
Someday I will find her.
Yes, and someday I will find her
On the Parkway Blue Blinder.
on the Parkway Blue Blinder.
On the Parkway.
On the Parkway on an autumn day. Yes, and leaves fall like confetti in a New York parade. On the Parkway on an autumn day. Yes, and leaves fall like confetti in a New York parade. In a strange way, I know I care.
Hey, welcome to Scenic City Sports tonight, live from parts still unknown, covering from Super Bowl Sunday, this past Sunday, and a game that turned out to be not too good.
I don't think any of us expected it to go exactly the way it went, and I would have thought it would have been way more close than that.
Right, yeah.
Not very good, but we're not really going to talk much of the Super Bowl because there wasn't really much to talk about. As far as the game goes, we're going to talk a little high school golf, or more specifically, some Catoosa County high school golf. We just happen to have all three golf coaches from the county area, and get ready to start the season. To my left, I guess right on where you're looking at it, Marcus Skiles, the new head coach at Heritage High School. Cameron Evans from Ringo, and Rusty Parkhill at LFO. So I guess we're just going to fight right here and get it over with. And
I don't like my chances.
get it over.
I'm giving it to the youth.
I was going to say.
You guys were talking before we got started here, and of course we're supposed to be, guys are having tryouts this week, but unfortunately, we know this time of year what's going to happen. If you've followed high school baseball in North Georgia, when baseball starts, it gets cold and it rains. So we're kind of stuck in this pattern for a little while. First of all, how are you guys dealing with not being able to get out there on the course right now?
Well, right now it's not hurting my team any because we haven't had the tryouts. There's not been any selection, but it certainly is giving me the twitches because I'm anxious to get started.
Yeah. How about you, Kevin?
Yeah, as far as us, I mean, luckily for me, a lot of my kids are members at a lot of the clubs around here, so I've been telling them, I mean, they're playing a lot of golf anyways.
Mm-hmm.
I've been kind of getting them, hey, if there's a warm day, we know how the spring is. If there's a warm day,
Yeah.
Sunday after church, go out and let's hit some balls or
Mm-hmm.
find a course and get on. So that's kind of what we had one day this week. We started Monday, but I told the guys, I said, this is all we're going to get, so just take advantage of every opportunity we get.
Yeah.
We got to start last week. We started, we didn't officially get to hit full shots until Wednesday of last week. We practiced Wednesday and Thursday. And then I'm lucky enough, I got a couple of kids on the team that work at Top Golf. And so they can get a bay anytime they want to. Right. So they've taken some of the other play, because while it's been raining, I've told them, I was like, guys, we're not doing anything. Just get some swings in where and I'm sure y'all said the same thing, but I've told them stuff like, hey, if it ain't nothing more than putting to a coffee cup in the hallway at your house, you're still getting swings in. Look at the map of a golf course. Map your way around that golf course. Anything you can to help give yourself a leg up.
And it's not like, obviously you're going to have to play in the rain probably at some point.
Oh, yeah.
But it's not like you guys have like a practice field where you can go out there and work on your game in the rain, because you're at the mercy of the courses that you're at.
Yeah, and that's an unfortunate thing for us. Golf is not one of the sports that is a big money maker for the school, so not a lot of money is spent on the facility. So we are out and about in the community begging for time and space. And, in this community we've got, the private courses. We go into Tennessee, we have to fight the middle schools because Tennessee middle schools are competing in golf at the same time that we are, and because, say, like Brainerd and Brown Acres, those are city-owned courses, they are basically having to give that time and space to those middle school teams first and foremost, and we're taking the scraps. But they're controlled by the weather just like anybody else, and so they're affected the same way. Their driving ranges are going to be closed, their putting greens are going to be closed, and you're going to have swamps in places that if there's a low spot in the course, then there's going to be a new lake or pond that wasn't there 2 weeks ago. So right now, kind of the same way Cameron and Rusty have said, a lot of the boys are already members at courses. They have access to the same places that everybody else on other teams have. Go out, practice as much as you can. You've got the tryouts coming out, so your time and effort into those practices before we have to the tryouts is what's going to help you into that point. So I'm hoping that by the time we do get on the course and have a tryout, that the kids are primed and ready to go.
Yeah. You brought up money, and Cameron, I'll ask you, just for people who don't know out there, I mean, everybody knows, football and baseball, you have fundraisers and what they go for. How much does it cost to run a golf program for a year?
It's coaching football. I kind of know what things cost as far as that. I mean, you're getting a gate every Friday night. You're getting people spending money at the concession stand. There's money coming in. The problem with golf is, like you said, there's no money coming in. Everything's being spent. So we try to play in a few tournaments a year. Obviously, that's not cheap. You're looking at a couple $100 for 6 guys to go play. Obviously, golf attire. I mean, polos, like the hat. We try to get guys good stuff. I mean, that costs a lot of money, and we're not charging fees to come watch us play. I mean,
is that something that's been discussed and talked about? Because just about every other sport, it's $5 to watch or something like that.
You could do it. My only caution with doing that is these kids have a hard enough time as a high schooler going out there and playing with people watching them, and I would fear that if you got the kind of crowd you might get, it could really get into the psyche of some of them, and that might cause some problems that you don't want. But they're right, man. It's expensive. I mean, you've got, anytime you go anywhere, it's a crapshoot. You may call another coach and say, hey, we'd like to come play at y'all's place, or y'all come play at our place, and you don't know whether they're going to have a course that is friendly to high school golf, and they're going to, like, if you go to Trenton's awesome. You call over there, and Coach Gibby over there at Dade County says, yeah, man, come on. Trenton Country Club won't cost us a thing. And a lot of the places we go, they don't charge. But then there's some places that we go that it might be $5 a kid, or it might be $12 a kid, or it might be $8 a kid. So, like they said, for 6 kids on the boys' side, if you got 4 or 5 girls on the girls' side, it don't sound like a whole lot, $70-$80, but at 2 to 3 matches per week for an entire season, and that's not counting, like he said, your polos, your hats. That's a $500 here, $700 there, $1,000 here. You're into some dough.
Yeah, I'll say, talking about the weather thing, spring golf, it is what it is. It's cold, it's wet. Not a lot of opportunities. One thing that I've wanted to do, and we've tried to do it through fundraising, things like that. This is kind of a stretch. Hopefully we can get there one day, but I want to be able to get somewhere where our guys have on campus, whether that's a couple of hidden days or something. If we can get a little a cheaper simulator. I'm not saying no 20, 30 grand setup.
Yeah.
Unless we could get that, but something where the guys can go and the girls can go, just get swings in. Like it's just somewhere warm and dry where they can hit balls inside, and they're getting a little bit better. I mean, and that's something that we've looked into.
We just need to build us a 3-way warehouse down around.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
Down around the colonnade.
Well, I was just about to ask: is there any way that we could have like a Catoosa?
You could. I mean, it would be. You'd be looking at some serious money, but if you had a big warehouse kind of building, you could build a big giant putting green in the middle, have a couple of hitting bays, a couple of simulators. Some whiteboard area where you could talk course strategy, things like. I mean, there's some. It could be done. It's just we'd have. The three of us and our programs would have to be the ones to do it. We'd have to find daddies that have construction companies that are willing to write fat checks and do work.
You could also maybe open it to the public as long as it's monitored where nobody's going to mess anything up. But I think everybody here is respectful enough, maybe not to let that happen. Make sure that the high school and the middle school and the kids, that's who it's necessarily built for. Whatever else you charge, I mean, almost pay for itself after a while.
It's been an idea of mine that this area needs to have a facility similar to what Back 9 is up on Lee Highway or what Albatross is downtown.
Yeah.
Maybe not necessarily to have it as a golf simulator and bar kind of thing, but something that may be a little bit more family friendly. But during that span when we are getting into the swing of golf, to sit there and say, look, during this time frame, during the year, the high schools have first take on these time slots. Right. So from 4 o'clock to 6:30 in the afternoon, these are dedicated times for the schools. We can rotate, we can do whatever. It's and then open it up to the public for the hours up to 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock or whatever, and then have availability on Saturdays and Sundays as well. But like Cameron said, also thinking about on-site, on-campus facilities for the students, and it doesn't even have to be fancy, just something covered with enough area where maybe they're hitting mid to short irons, maybe a little bit of an area where they're able to do some putting, chipping kind of activities, but just being able to stay dry. And not be hitting out of hayfields, not be hitting out of gravel lots and things like that. I know there are spots on the campus of Heritage that would be perfect for a setup like that, but then now again we're talking money. We're already asking the parents of these players for the sport fees, for the uniform fees, for if they do go watch a match, some of the places they may want to rent a cart. Well, those facilities are going to charge a cart fee.
Yellow Fayette last year for region, that cart fee was what was it, $44?
$40-something dollars, and then also they only gave one team one cart. So our girls, the girls are on the opposite end of the course, so we had the school had to purchase a separate cart just so we could have two carts for each program.
I heard some complaining about that.
Well, they had to pay those new carts off.
Well, you what I would, to add to what you're talking about, if you had a place like, I took my kids to Myrtle Beach a couple of years ago. My kids, not my players. I took my kids to Myrtle Beach, and there was a facility over there called Tupelo Bay, and it was literally just a practice facility. Had an executive course, 18 holes. It's basically 4 par 4s, 14 par 3s. Had a driving range, a chip and green, and then it had a pitch and putt course. No hole in that course was over 35 yards, I think it was. 44 yards might have been the furthest one in the whole thing. Something like that in this area, number one, would be a great place for us to be able to go and practice. But number two, as big as golf is in this area, you can't tell me if it was ran right, it wouldn't get enough business to be successful. And there's so many places where I always have said that, the old High Point golf course down there, that piece of land, it's out in the middle of nowhere, but at the same time, that's exactly what you want. It's out there off the hustle and bustle. That land still, to my knowledge, still sits there. I don't think they've ever done anything with it.
And that's what I was going to bring up next. How badly do we need another public course around here? Because it seems like, we got a lot, but we really don't for the amount of people that are playing golf in this area. And then, like you said, and I've seen it firsthand. You try to go to Brown Acres or it was Brown Acres last year. You guys were playing Ridgeland, and there was a middle school going on with Tennessee because Oka was playing in that.
Yeah.
And it was like, get to the tee, hit your shot, and 20 minutes later, we'll hit the second shot, and then 30 minutes later, we'll get to the next green. And I think they got like 3 holes in.
Yeah.
In 5 hours. And how badly do we need another public course down here in North Georgia?
It's a massive need, and probably 2 years ago I was sitting at my kitchen table considering, how many public courses do we have versus private courses, and I think I just did a 25-mile radius going up towards Cleveland, going down towards Dalton, Trenton, those areas, and I think it was public courses or private courses 3-1 over the availability of public courses. And COVID created a whole new generation of golfers, a whole new species of golfers, and so not everyone can afford to have a membership. Memberships are not cheap, so they go to these public courses, and they go in droves. And so you are talking about a course, say like Brainerd or Brown Acres, that on a casual day should take you 4 hours to play a round of golf that can stretch into 5 hours and 15 minutes because there is such a backup. And it is the guys that are the decent golfers. It is the guys that are the first-time golfers. And, you don't want to discourage the first-time golfers. You don't want to be standing there pushing them the whole time, but also they need to come to an understanding of what slow play is, and hey, every time we turn around, these guys are on our back. We need to kind of think about either letting them through or trying to play a little faster.
We got BJ guys apparently can't figure that out either. When we're having nine holes playing 3 hours, on television. I mean, that's getting ridiculous.
We also deal with, and it's not, I don't want any courses in our area or anywhere else to think that we're picking on anyone in particular. But we also have situations where we have an aging population in our area, and then across in Tennessee as well, at some of these courses that you drive by there at 4 o'clock in the afternoon on a Tuesday, and there might be 3 people walking out on the course, but they won't let you out there because the membership don't want you out there. If we're doing our job as all the golf coaches in the area and the kids are doing the way, they're playing the way they're supposed to play. They are picking up their divots. They are fixing their ball marks, that kind of stuff. That shouldn't matter. That's growing the game, and those golf courses need to realize that that's their next generation of players that are going to be their members, that are going to want to be out there and spend that money. And I'll go something further on what Marcus said. When you go out there on an afternoon, and all 4 of us at this table play golf, when you go out there on an afternoon, the guys that walk out there and I heard a guy, my wife and I went to Amigos the other night, and there was a guy sitting 2 booths behind me, and I heard the guy go, "Yeah, I played this afternoon, shot from the tips and shot 85. Who cares? You shot 85 from the tips. You probably could have shot 74 from the whites. Why not move up to the whites and have a good time? And hurry it along. You wasted another 20 or 30 minutes for no reason."
I was so excited to turn 50 because I'm like, I get to move up.
Yeah, I mean, that's the misperception of golf over the last few years has been that it's possible for everybody to go out there and hit it 300 yards. Well, you know what? I used to hit it a long way when I was in my 20s, and then I had a kidney transplant, and now I hit it like a 75-year-old. So, it's an ego-sapping game, but it's also a game that when you go to a golf course, instead of having red, white, green, whatever, based on yardage, it should just have a thing out beside it that says, 18 to 24, 24 to 36, whatever, or handicap. If your handicap's here, you play here.
If you average this, play here.
Go out there and play the game that you're going to enjoy the most. Because for us, most of the kids that we are going to coach are never going to play at the next level, much less going to play professionally. Most of them are going to play these courses in this area, and the most they're going to play is going to be select shot tournaments and things like that, because they get a job, they play industrial league, they play the stuff like that. If these courses understand that, there's millions of dollars to be made on future golfers coming out and playing each week.
Yeah.
Plain and simple.
Yeah. So, I mean, and just kind of change the subject a little bit, but you brought up, and just anybody will answer this if they can. What are you trying to teach these golfers about the game? Maybe not specifically, but just overall, what do you need for them to get out of it that they're going to be able to translate on and play, anywhere and keep playing down the road?
I would say with my guys, I mean, I got a lot of kids that have played a lot of golf. I mean, they're pretty good golfers. I got kids that have been playing for 6 months. Mm-hmm. So, the kids have been playing a long time. They, obviously they know more. It's a game of etiquette. They know the etiquette of the game and things like that. The unspoken rules of golf that nobody really talks about. And, I try to get the kids that are kind of the courtesy things like pace of play, hey,
etiquette stuff.
Yeah, hey, if why aren't we sitting here watching him putt? You need to be over here looking at your putt. Let's speed this thing up. Hey, go get the flag for him. Like stuff like that. That common sense stuff that sometimes doesn't flow through the heads of 16-year-olds.
Right.
So just trying to get some common sense and make it enjoyable. I mean, golf's a hard enough game. Don't make it any harder than what it has to be, because this game's hard. We all know it's hard. Yeah. So.
It's got 4 letters for a reason.
Yeah. Just make it easy, make it fun, have fun with it, and if you may go out and fire a good score today, and then come out and play tomorrow and play the worst round you ever played. So you can't read into it much and just play golf, man.
Yeah. What's the main thing you're trying to get out of your guys?
Well, there's a couple of things that I've picked up on here recently, just in conversation with some of the guys as I've seen them out on the course. A few of them happen to play at the course that I'm at. One of them is that everybody seems to be in love with having a 60-degree wedge in their bag. Okay?
Status.
It's a spatula.
Yeah, and one of the things is prior to having the tryouts and everything, and just introducing myself as the new coach, I had the guys fill out a questionnaire. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What are you hoping to get out of this season? Of course, everybody was definitely shooting a better score. Some guys were being better around the green. So one of the things that I want to try to concentrate on with these guys is being able to choose the right shot for the situation. It's okay if you want to go out and you're by yourself and you're just out having a leisurely round, a little bit of practice. If you think there's a tight, narrow shot that you want to try to punch a shot through or something, it's not hurting anybody. Go ahead, give it a shot. But when you get into a competition, you need to take your medicine. If you've hit a bad shot in the first place, you put yourself in a bad situation, your next shot should be to get you to a safe place.
Yep.
So you've got to take your medicine, take that one stroke, get to a safe place to where you can hit a clean shot. That's going to be one of my lessons that I hope to get across to the guys. Don't be the hero. Don't try to fit that, ball through that needle. And then secondly is, when you get around the green, being able to assess the shot you need. 60-degree wedge is not that versatile. You may need a bump and run. So you need to pick that lower lofted club to do the bump and run. It's going to get you into a better putting situation, get the ball closer. You mishit that little 60-degree wedge and all you've done is popped it up 4 feet in front of you, you got to do it again. So it's trying to get the guys to make the correct shot selections that minimize the trouble.
Yeah.
And it's going to have to be getting them out there and getting them used to that frame of mind that just because you saw Scotty Scheffler do it, unless you've got Scotty Scheffler blood running through your veins, make the smart shot.
Yeah. How do you balance? Because it is you're in competition with those schools. You're trying to win region titles and move on and stuff. But how do you try to get them to balance between, a competition and not having fun out there on the course?
Well,
because it can be.
Okay, so
it's hard to do both sometimes.
I'll tell something on me and Cameron. We're standing on Windstone the other day. I look over him. What you got? He looks over me. What do you got? We started talking for a minute. What did we say right afterwards? Let's just go finish first and second. Yeah. We don't care who wins. We don't care who finishes second. Let's go finish first and second in the region. Let's take them all to stay. Yeah. And the balancing act that I think most of us probably have the most trouble with is with these kids. And this goes back into what are you trying to teach them? I'm trying to teach them the honor of the game. Because golf is the one game that if you are an honorable person, you have to call things on yourself. And you have to be man enough to say, I did that. I have to assess myself a penalty. And for young people who are used to playing video games that they can reset and start over, that's hard. But you're trying to teach them how to be an individual, but you're also trying to teach them how to be a part of a team. Yeah. If I hit this shot, this could be spectacular and I might make birdie right here. But if I screw up right here, I could make triple bogey, and that makes our whole team score come down. Yeah. So the better shot is to lay up right here, take par, and we're not losing anything. Mm-hmm. Because if I'm a good teammate, because now we are allowed to have our phones out on the course with them because of the electronic scoring system and stuff. If I'm a good teammate, I know where my boys are. Mm-hmm. Hey, where are you at? What are you hitting right now? Okay, well, you're there. I'm going to make sure that I do this on this hole. You have to it's all those little things all at once, trying to just there's 100 balls in the air at the same time. That's the only way to say it. I mean, you can't, when you, and these guys will tell you the same thing, when you're sitting there in your cart with your binoculars and your iPad and you're watching realistically 12 matches going on at the same time and trying to figure out which one you really need to be at, because this kid's cruising, but this one over here normally is cruising, but he's having a bad day. Yeah. But these two over here are all, you just gotta figure all that out, and there's no right or wrong answer.
Yeah. Kids have to have the right attitude about it too, right. Because I've told this story before. Rusty, you've probably heard. You guys probably haven't. There was a kid from another high school, not around here, at an area championship. They're playing at Battlefield. This is probably, 15 years ago now or more. And he came in, turned his scorecard in, and coach keeping the score. He's like, "How'd you do?" He goes, I guess you have to tell him. We'll see. And I'm peering over the guy's shoulder, and I see the scorecard, and it started out 9-14-11. And I went, So we totaled up. We got to 98 for the first 9. And we flipped it over. I was like, wow, okay, 212. And he said, how'd I do? And he said, well, I got you down for 212. And the kid looks right at me and goes, better than I thought I was going to do. Because that kid got forced into a situation where he was a freshman having to play the number 4 position because 2 other kids couldn't be there that day. And he had to post a score. And he he had the best attitude about it. And I told the coach afterward, I was like, after 9-14-11, I would have thrown my clubs in the creek and I'd been sitting on the bus. Yeah. But he knew he had to finish it out, and he did. And they weren't letting him pick it up after 100 or whatever. But he just had the best attitude about it. I thought, if every kid could play like that, this game would be so much more fun. So how do you get that in their head that, we're going to compete, but if you're not having fun, it's not even worth being out here.
And
I was just going to say, I think the thing, for me is going to be that, look, you need to set your own expectations and play within yourself. You know what you're capable of, and don't worry about the outcome today, because tomorrow it may be totally different. You are only in control of the moment, and that's even a hard thing for me. I'm very competitive, and I settle high expectations for myself, and I am humbled every time I go out to the golf course, because I know that I can play the same course 5 days in a row and come up with 5 very different scores.
Yeah.
And so, I am not getting paid to play golf. I pay to play golf. And so I have to continue to think in that mentality that I'm out there for my own enjoyment, and if I set such strict expectations on myself, I am not going to enjoy it. I just have to be in the moment, be happy that I'm out playing golf, because Lord knows I could be anywhere else. I could be having to work 2 jobs. I could be having to work 3 jobs. But I'm on a golf course. I'm enjoying the nature, and I'm enjoying the game that I love very much. So just go with the flow, enjoy the moment, and if it's not exactly what you had in mind for that day, tomorrow's, you get
Another
to start
day.
over.
Yeah. I was going to say, like, for my guys, we have a rule. No, first off, when you're playing golf, you don't ever want to play with a guy that's throwing clubs, pitching a fit on the course. So that's one of my first rules, man. If a hole goes bad, like, let it go. We're not going to throw clubs. If I see any of that, like, it's...
I'll interrupt you. We used to play with a group where I used to work many, many years ago, and we would go out. We'd work 3 days on, 3 days off. So the last day, we would all go play golf that morning because we worked night shift. And one guy was using another guy's set of clubs, barring it, and he missed a chip and just turned and flung the sand wedge like over the hill, forgetting there was a lake on the other side. And it went straight to the bottom, and the guy who owned the clubs was like, well, you got 2 choices. It's $110 or start taking your shoes off and get in there and get the club. And he went down there and he found the club, and he went in there and got it out. But, just, go continue.
Nobody wants to be that guy. Nobody wants to be around that guy. I don't want my guys to be that guy. So we've kind of built a culture with that. Like, even I'll have a hole where they just blow up, and they're just keeping their head up and just keep going along, and that's a good thing. We're trying to build that with it. But also, I try to get my guys. I was a football guy. I played football in college and high school and golf too. But for me, and I've tried to bring it to golf. Okay, when I played football, I take it one play at a time, and I'm not worried about what you get in position battles, things like that. You're trying to win a starting job, things like that. I'm not worried about anybody else but me. I got to focus on me first, and you can carry that to golf. Okay, you're in a foursome with 3 other guys. I don't care what they're shooting, what they're playing. I got to focus on myself. I got to focus on the shot ahead. I got to play the next shot and just find that zone to where, that competitive zone where I'm not psyching myself out, being too competitive, but I'm still in the right mindset that, hey, I'm just going to play the next shot. No matter what, man, you hit a bad shot, I got to play the next shot. Okay, you still got an opportunity. So I think that's where it falls.
Well, one of the things, too, about being out there, and this is something I noticed from the very beginning, everyone in golf is way more supportive of one another, regardless of what color hat you got on or what color shirt you got on. I mean, I'll see groups coming in, and they'll be, hey man, that's great, great shot. I'll catch myself, kids coming off, hey man, great putt. I've had other kids walk by, pat them on the shoulder, and be like, hey man, listen, next time you play that hole, remember that broke that way, not that way, because it's just years of experience that you have of being out there, and if you're not passing that down to the next ones. But a lot of that starts with, we all 3 get along. If we're in matches with each other, we're going to be standing over the side, probably cutting up and laughing, and and the kids see that as well, and that matters. I mean, we're all Catoosa County people. In the end, I want them to do well. They want us to do well, because that makes us all look good. And if we're all if all 3 of these programs turn into great programs, then it might help us get one of those golf facilities out there one of these days, because we go to Superintendent Nix and say, hey, we got 3 state qualifying programs for the last 10 years. Can you help us out? And that's a possibility.
Let's say we got a kid out there right now. I'm parent of a kid who's getting into golf, and maybe they're 7, 8, 9 years old right now. You're not going to get them for a few more years. What do they need to be working on right now, starting out in the game, that's going to help them get better, in stages to where they get to high school, they'll be ready to go?
I would say, number 1, make it fun, regardless, especially at a young age. Do things that help them enjoy it. And then I would say, number 2, the only thing that any kid really needs to be concentrating on until they get up to their teenage years is just try to learn how to hit the ball straight. Don't take every golf publication and show and video and don't watch none of it, because as a young golfer, all that does is poison your brain. Just have a good time.
I want to expand on that.
Yeah.
Because we are in a world of all these influencers. You've got Good, you've got Fat Perez, you've got Rick Shields, you've got
I like Manlow.
Yeah, anybody and everybody that thinks they know how to play golf, they're shooting videos, they're putting them on social media. And I have been playing since I was 8 years old, so now we're talking 45 years. And, you know, we didn't have that stuff when I started. It was basically, here's a set of sticks, here's some golf balls, go have fun. I did not take a lesson from anyone until I was 50 years old. Took 2 lessons. So everything that I have is basically self-taught. So I agree with Rusty. Stay off the videos. Stay off anything. If you want to learn how to play golf, you know, find someone local that has a PGA, USGA teaching background that can teach you the game. Stay with someone like that. But at 7, 8 years old, you know, go to Goonie Golf.
Yep.
Go to Putt Putt, and just you see the joy on the kids' faces just to be out there putting the ball. So hey, you want to learn the first aspect of golf? I say start backwards.
That's what Tiger did.
Start with the putter, and work your way off the green with the wedges, then to the longer irons, then to the driver.
What's the club you can control the most and be able to
It's
hit
the
it
most
straight?
Well, and that's where the phrase, you know, drive for show, putt for dough.
Mm-hmm.
You know, these guys that are professionals make more putts than they miss, and if they miss the putt, they leave the next one makeable.
Yeah.
You know, they know how to recover from the poor shots and things like that. But start backwards. Start small and just work your way up, because you're at least going to have 18 putts.
Mm-hmm.
You might have 14 drives. You know, depends on the course, depends on how far you hit the ball, depends on what you need to be hitting off of the tee box.
Mm-hmm.
So you might have 14, but you're at least going to have 18 putts.
Yep.
Get good at putting, and then just work your way backwards. But again, keep it fun, keep it relaxed. Moms, dads, stay off their backs.
Yeah.
Let them enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're not going to get a scholarship at 7 or 8 years old. Let them enjoy it, because if you want to get them out of the sport, ride their back.
Get him out real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'll kind of bounce off that a little bit, but just to say, you know, dads, thankfully I had a dad that played golf, and, you know, I was a baseball kid growing up, so golf and baseball don't always coexist very well with the swing. So
No, it's the same swing.
yeah.
Okay,
One's up here and one's down
I've had
there.
about 5 people tell me that. It's the
Yeah,
same
no.
swing.
They don't coexist very well, but you know, thankfully my dad, when he'd go to the course, you know, he'd take me along with him. And I think if you're a guy, you know, you've got kids and you play golf, like I understand you got to get out with your buddies sometimes and have that time to get away, but man, take your kids to the course, like we say, have fun with them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just being out there on the court, you know, most of the time, I mean, I know I was this way. Whatever my dad did, I wanted to try to do that and try to be good at it too. So, you know, tagging along to the course with him, it really sparked that interest for me. And I play a lot more than he does now, but, you know, he kind of helped spark that interest for me and get me out there and kind of fall in love with the game. And, you know, he didn't care if I played it or not, but I was around it and I fell in love with it. And so I've kind of taken off and run with it. And so just exposing your kids to the game, I think, is a really big thing.
A lot of junior tournaments, a lot of junior circuits, even around here now.
They can take the love out of it really quickly.
It can. I was about to ask, how good do these kids need to be before they start looking into that? Because, you know, we've seen, you know, there's some kids that can handle it, there's some kids that can't.
Well, you can, I mean, if you are bold enough to do it, you can enter your kid at almost any age that you want to. I mean,
Yeah.
and there are a lot of people who are of the sink or swim mentality. I'm just going to throw them out there and see what happens. And that's why, And it's no different than any other sport. That's why you get kids that start off. What I was going to add to a lot of that was, don't specialize. If you're learning how to play golf, play everything else too. Nobody says you can only play one sport. And that's the problem now, is because a parent sees, well, he's got a little bit of golf talent. Well, I ain't tried any of this other stuff, but he's pretty good at this, so we're just going to maximize this. Well, you never know. You might be keeping that kid from being a tennis pro. You might be keeping him from being a great shortstop on the baseball team. You can't, and that's, I hate to sound like I'm against the junior sports industry, but I'm against the junior sports industry. I'm not going to lie. I mean, we maximize the profit off the backs of these kids in like baseball and stuff when we play 400 games, and that's why we got kids having Tommy John surgery at 13 and 14 years old. Let them be kids. Plain and simple, man. I mean, if you want to throw them in those tournaments, you can, but you got to have that kid it's got to be that Tiger Woods kid, man. I mean, that you've had with a club in his hand since he's 4 years old, and that kid don't do anything but eat, sleep, and breathe it. And then it's all I see as a father is how much money I have to spend driving them everywhere every weekend to play all those events.
Yeah, not to jump on just the kids sports thing, but I will say, man, I'm not picking on baseball here when I say this, but I was a product of travel baseball. These kids are playing more games than professional baseball players at 12 years old, and their bodies are not meant to handle that. I played all three sports. I tell every kid in the hallway or an athlete, like, hey, man, play it all while you can, because one day you can't play it anymore, and take advantage of every opportunity you get to play it. And I think that, that kind of, like I said, the baseball thing, man, when you're playing that much baseball, you can't just go out and pick up a golf club. I mean, you can, but it's a lot harder to be good at playing golf when you're swinging a baseball bat every weekend and 3 nights a week, things like that. So
I remember hearing about a U6 baseball team played 90 games over a summer.
Yeah.
I will tell you, and I will not identify any players or anything like that to keep from ticking anybody off, but a few years ago when I first took this position, I was trying to field a girls team. Softball plays in the fall. First thing I thought was, I'll go find me a couple softball players, and they're tremendously athletic. If they're willing to do it, absolutely. Picked me out 3 or 4 players, talked to them. They were all excited about maybe trying out. All 3 of them come to me within the next 3 or 4 days, and same response almost every time. My parents got too much money tied up in my softball swing for me to be trying to play golf. Okay, I mean, I get that. I completely, and I appreciate that.
Well, you could be like me. I couldn't hit a baseball to save my life, even though I played from the time I was 5. But tried out for golf at LFO when I was going through there. Made the team as a freshman. The coach that year, on a Friday evening, we had just finished our practice round at Brainerd. Brought us back to the school, and I called my dad to come pick me up. I was 14 years old. Coach comes out, and I'm sitting on the bench waiting on my dad to come out. He goes, "Is your dad on his way?" I said, "Yes, sir. He's on his way." He goes, "All right, well, have a great weekend." Gets in his car and heads off campus. I am the only person on that campus at the age of 14. It is dark. My dad pulls up and goes, "Where's your coach?" I said, "Well, he just left a couple minutes ago." He said, "Well, you won't be playing for him anymore." And that broke my heart, because I loved golf, and I thought this may be my way of kind of playing school sports. It opened the door for me, because the next year I tried out for the baseball team. Couldn't hit a lick, but thank God I could pitch, and was left-handed. So that actually took me into playing into college baseball. So, piggybacking on your thought of let the kids be kids and let them play multiple sports. That wasn't the end-all end that I didn't get to play golf in high school. It opened up an opportunity. Didn't mean I didn't have to give up golf, because fortunately at LFO during that time, pitchers didn't have to hit. We had a DH in college, had a DH, so I was like, all right, I can work on my golf, and when I'm not playing baseball. And so it is important for the kids to develop in other areas and not be burnt out on one thing. It's too easy for these kids who are just fed the same thing over and over and over and over again to get tired of seeing it, and there's days where they just don't even want to look at the equipment. They want to go out and be a regular kid,
Yeah.
shoot basketball in the front yard, ride well, I won't say ride bicycles. Nobody rides a bicycle anymore. They're all on e-bikes or scooters. But you know, they want to do something different.
Yeah.
But you know, their weekends are crammed of travel baseball games.
Yep.
They've got to be in the car Friday morning heading up to so and so to play 2 games that night and 10 games
and 6 the next day. Yeah.
And so it wears them out. And golf is a great way to relieve some of that, because they can still be outside, they can still do stuff, they're being active, and it is a great chance for a parent to connect with their kid.
I'll tell you what I tell all my players, and I tell a lot of my students this very same thing. I say, listen, there's 2 things I teach you how to do right now. I teach you how to shoot pool, and I teach you how to play golf. And they all kind of look at me funny like, well, why? And I said, because if you understood how much money changes hands over the top of a pool table or on a golf course, now not illegal money, of a couple of businessmen, hey, let's go down to the bar tonight, we'll shoot a few racks and talk about that deal. Let's go on the golf course tomorrow and play 18 holes, and we'll talk about this, talk about that. It's a game just like pool is. It's a game that you can play till you're 118 if you, as long as you can still get out there and walk, you can play it and enjoy it, and that's what makes it so special to me. I mean, there's no, y'all think about all the crazy swings that you see on a given day. If you just go sit in a lounge chair at the side of the range, you see people that do everything that you can possibly think of, but all wind up with the same similar results.
Mm-hmm. Kind of switching gears for just a second. It's been talked about in Georgia about possibly moving the sport to the fall. I don't see it happening, and I think the last time they brought it up, it kind of got shot down. What's your opinion on that? Would that be a positive thing, or are we just continue to deal with the cold and the rain for the first month of the season?
I'll say this on my behalf. Okay, you look at the sport of golf in Georgia. How many golf coaches are football coaches?
Yeah.
I mean, me being one of them. So for me, it doesn't help. Now for the game itself, you're looking at courses that are probably in a lot better condition in the fall, especially when you get further south. They're going to be still greened up and looking nice. A lot better weather. So in that regard, I think it would be good. And I've got a lot of baseball kids that, man, I wish golf was in the fall.
I'll give you an amen
Tennessee
on that.
does it right across the state
I'll
line.
give you an
We're
amen
playing
on
in
the
fall.
baseball kids.
I got a lot of baseball kids that want to come out. And I'm like, man, we can't do that. But
Would Georgia ever decide maybe to try to do a fall, season and a spring season?
I would like to see them I would like to see them go similar to what Tennessee does, but go opposite. I'd like to see them let our middle schools play in the fall and us play in the spring, and that could alleviate some of the overcrowding potentially. You never know. Well, listen, I'm going to step back in as my host hat for a second.
Oh, thank God.
I guess Scott's like, come on, man. So I'm going to step back in for a minute because, I'm not just bringing you guys on here to talk golf, because that's just not what we do. If we bring people on, we've got to talk about a little bit of everything. So obviously I'm going to assume that you guys are music fans, because most of us
I was out
are.
of questions. But.
Well, I just so happened to see today, and this is the kind of thing that we really enjoy, and Rob would really enjoy to be here for this, but they announced the 2025 Hall of Fame inductees for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for this year, for the nominees for this upcoming year.
Nominees, okay.
Now, there are on this list, and this one doesn't have them marked, but there are 6 first-time nominees, and when I tell you who they are, it'll blow your mind on a couple of them. But these are the nominees: Bad Company, the Black Crowes, Mariah Carey, Chubby Checker, and Joe Cocker, both first-time nominees. As old as Chubby Checker, how far along back he was.
Chubby Checker pretty much started
Yes.
rock and roll.
So the Joy Division, Cyndi Lauper, Mexican artist named Mana that I have not heard of, Oasis, Outkast, Fish, Soundgarden, and the White Stripes. Now, typically you're going to get about 5 of those is what you're going to get. Now, I'll tell you the first thought, and I told Marcus this earlier when I looked at the list. the first thought that hits my mind, now you know I'm a fish head, but Fish will go in either this year or next, not because the Academy votes them in, but because the amount of fans that are out there, they'll be like the Dave Matthews Band. They'll win that fan vote for 10 years running if they have to before they finally go in there.
Doesn't the band have to be around for 25 years?
Yeah, they've been around since like 1980.
You said the White Stripes.
White Stripes go all the way back to...
Have they really been around for 25 years?
Yeah, they go all the way back to the early 90s.
Wow.
Oasis is the
I didn't
one
realize
that
they've been around
kind
that
of...
long.
Oh, if I'm being honest, Oasis surprised me a little bit. I wasn't expecting... I mean, I think their music is great, but I don't think they have enough oomph to warrant a Hall of Fame induction.
Yeah. Like I said, there was a couple names on there you mentioned. I was kind of like,
Anything stick out to y'all? Any of those names?
I'm gonna be honest. I'm in a different age bracket here, so
That's
a lot
true.
Of, a lot of these names are not
younger
sticking
than
out
us.
to me. So
You know Outkast.
I know a few of them. Some of them I can't even speak on.
I can get behind several on that list, but I do tend to gravitate more towards a lot of the older music. Like Oasis, they're just, to me, it's kind of like a one and done kind of
Yeah.
thing. There wasn't
Yeah.
a big body of work for me to say, yeah, they've had a lot of American hits
Mm-hmm.
that, you know,
Well, you know, 2 albums and then they got in a fist fight on stage.
you know, they didn't captivate, you know, the audience for a long period of time, you know. And like you had talked about Fish and Dave Matthews Band, you know, they have a following.
Yeah.
And that matters.
Yeah.
You know, looking at some of the others, you know, Chubby Checker, his body of work and his influence back in the time should carry enough weight that he deserves it. Mariah Carey,
Absolutely.
she's had her glory days, and you know, she's still relevant. Black Crowes, one of my favorites. Who else did we have on there? Bad Company.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think Outkast.
Yeah.
I mean,
Outkast.
you know, that good Georgia. Well, I mean, we got a couple Georgia ties there. Outkast and the Crows, both from Atlanta, and I think, you know, those are two. The Black Crowes are kind of a funny story to me because there's you a band that, I mean, how many times have they destroyed themselves and then got back together and made it all up again and then destroyed themselves again, and you know that's definitely the longevity. Billy Idol, that's one. I kind of think. I mean, at least the snarl is Hall of Fame worthy. You know, the lip curl. But I think it'll be interesting to watch. I always, you know, I can't quite figure out what the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame wants to do now. To me, they should have changed it 10 years ago to just the Music Hall of Fame, because when you start putting all genres in, you know, I mean, how is Dolly Parton? I love Dolly as much as anybody, but what about Dolly do you classify as rock and roll? I mean, you put her in there as an honor, but I mean, you know,
Didn't she do like a rock album?
I've got it over there. I've got it over there.
She did the rock album
in the collection.
why isn't Boston in the Hall of Fame?
Because there are some hateful, bitter people that are the ones voting. You know, 10 years or 25, 30 years ago, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame was a group of one, and it was the dude from Rolling Stone magazine. And if you ever did anything in your career to cross him, you weren't ever getting in. Look how long it took Rush to get in. I mean, there's...
I found a website, and it's like 145 people, bands, whatever, that are not yet in the Hall of Fame, and I'm just like, really?
Yeah.
Phil Collins.
Yeah,
Why?
And you know, and Phil Collins, I mean, the whole body of work there, you know, Genesis drummer, not to mention what he did as a solo artist. I mean, yeah, I know. It's frustrating. But it's no different than, you know, all four of us are baseball fans too. It's no different. We could sit here and talk about the Baseball Hall of Fame for hours. You know, and being from Georgia, I will preach it till I'm blue in the face. Dale Murphy, there is no reason Dale Murphy should not be a Hall of Famer.
Well, I'm on the younger side of that to say Andrew Jones, man.
Of course.
I mean, how's that guy not? He's running out of time too.
It drives me nuts.
That 251 average. That's what everybody points to. It doesn't matter. He hit 400 something home runs as a switch hitter or whatever. He hit 251.
With Andrew, it just goes back to, I will never forget as long as I live watching him as a 17-year-old kid walk into Yankee Stadium in Game 1 of the World Series and hit 2 home runs in his first 2 World Series at bats. That's ice water running through your veins.
How many Gold Gloves?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Iron Maiden's not in the Hall of Fame. That ticks
Yeah,
me.
that really.
I think going on to your, baseball Hall of Fame stuff, I think everybody is so caught up in the one thing that somebody does wrong.
Yeah. Instead of all the things they did
Instead
right.
of all the
Yep.
things they did right. You can get it right 99% of the time, and nobody's going to notice. It's the one time you mess up, and it's the Pete Rose thing,
The Barry
it's
Bonds,
the Barry Bonds,
yeah.
the Mark McGuire's,
Roger Clemens.
all those guys. They have a body of work that is, extraordinary, and they're always going to have that asterisk by their name because, we all hold this, thing of integrity. It's the integrity of the sport and this, that, and the other. And, who cares what you did in your personal life? That doesn't matter. It's the numbers. And did you do it in the game or did you do it to the game? Well, the game didn't suffer because of anything. Mark McGuire, Sammy Sosa revitalized baseball during
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of talk about those steroids while they were hitting all them home runs.
No.
The same guys that should have been writing about it then didn't.
No.
Because of what they were drawing fans to the game. I mean,
Were you telling me the pitchers on the other side of the ball weren't juiced up too?
of course they were.
I mean,
Of course they were. That was the most entertaining
Doctoring
era
baseball.
of baseball.
Yeah.
You know,
I was trying to think. You got Gaylord Perry's in the Hall of Fame. Both Necros are in the Hall of Fame. And I promise you, the three of them ain't ever
John
met.
Sutton.
And there's another one. There's 4 guys right there that ain't ever met an Emery board they didn't like.
Yeah.
Or some, or some Vaseline under the hat bill, or, I mean,
Rub a little jalapeno on my nose. And
I was going to say like the old man in Major
Harris.
League. What you got there? Oh, jalapeno dip, if they're watching too. Yeah, I mean, that's always hard for me to, and as a Braves fan, like I said, I mean, it's hard to watch. Yankees get in because they're Yankees. And that just drives me bananas. But the other thing about all that, too, is, and Scott and I have talked about this, and Rob on the show, these voters, there's a handful of players in the history of the game that how in the world they're not unanimous.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and the crazy thing about it is you can go all the way back to the very beginning. Ty Cobb wasn't a unanimous Hall of Famer. And that might be literally the greatest pound-for-pound baseball player that's ever lived.
and the most prolific a-hole
Yeah. Oh,
that
yeah.
ever played the game.
Yeah.
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 But nobody let that deter them from voting.
Greatest stat I ever seen in my life, and I mean, besides all the million of Greg Maddux stats, is Ty Cobb's strikeout to at-bat ratio is an insane number. It is like 31 or 21,000 total at-bats, and his entire career he only struck out like 200 and something times in 21,000 at-bats. I've looked at his box scores for the seasons, and there were singular seasons that he didn't strike out at all, and then 1 or 2 seasons where he struck out 8 or 10 times, which took up a chunk of those. Just nuts. Just nuts.
I saw one, not of Ty Cobb, but it was of Ichiro. I think his first game in the majors, he started out 0 for his first 2, and then he got a hit, making 1 for 3. That was the last time he was under 300 as a career hitter.
Good Lord.
It's insane.
Well, and the stat for Tony Gwynn, I think it was like, okay, he's got a 332 career batting average or whatever, but against Maddux,
Oh yeah.
Glavine,
He owned
Smoltz,
the
had
3 of them.
350 plus.
Yeah.
And he's the all-time assist leader for San Diego State basketball.
He has, this is my favorite one of him, he had more career assists at San Diego State than strikeouts in his major league career, and he played 20 years in the major.
Yeah. Yeah, I watched him one night foul, and I think it was Maddox he was hitting against.
Yeah.
I watched him foul off like 19 straight pitches to draw a walk.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen? It's been floating around the video of Maddux and Barry Bonds looking at the tape of an at bat.
Oh no! I bet that's awesome.
That Maddux.
Oh, I gotta see that.
He throws I think he throws like a changeup, And earlier in the year, I think he got too much of it over the plate, and Bonds hits a tank off of him. I have to watch it again, but then this happened in April, and then you get to the postseason, and it comes down, and he remembered that pitch back from April.
Oh, yeah.
And so he knows he threw that pitch back then. He knows where not to put it, and I'm going to put it on a different side. And, just watching them talk through the at-bat, Bonds is okay, I'm thinking 0-2 here. I'm thinking he's going to throw this here. And Maddox is yeah, 0-2, I'm going to throw this pitch here. And they're just on the same it's just the way those guys are, man.
There was another one that I saw Maddox was talking about. It was a story somebody related. They were facing Houston. Jeff Bagwell was at the plate.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he threw one, where Bagwell could hit it, and he did, or whatever. And
it's with Eddie Perez got pissed because
Yeah.
he goes, "What'd you do that for?" He goes, "Next time he'll think I'm gonna throw it there again."
Setting him up for the postseason.
Yeah, I'm setting him up for the postseason.
And
Those
sure
guys are
enough,
good.
Yeah. And they met in the postseason, and same situation. He threw him totally different pitch.
I saw one with him.
Third base.
Yep.
I saw one with him the other day, and they were talking to Chipper, and they were talking to Leo Mazzoni. And so they're playing the Diamondbacks, and Luis Gonzalez is up to bat. And Bobby sends Mazzoni out there to take the ball. And Mazzoni goes out there and he goes, "Hey, Skip wants you to go." He goes, "Come on, man, give me three more, or give me 3 pitches." He said 3 pitches. I think I can get him to pop out to third. 3 pitches. He goes, "Man, Bobby wants you." He goes, "I'm telling you, man, 3 pitches. I'll get him to pop out to third." And he goes, "All right." So he throws the first one. It's low and away, ball. Throws the second one, he fights it off his hands, foul back, and he throws the third one low and away inside, and he pops it right up to third base. And Chipper goes, "I would have never believed it if I hadn't been standing there on the mound hearing him say it." And he goes, "I look over to the dugout as we're running back in." He goes, and Bobby and Leo both are just shaking their head "Yep."
He told his catcher, he said, "Look, you got enough to worry about. You just hold the glove up. I'll call the pitches."
Yeah.
And he had his own method,
Oh, yeah.
How he caught the return pitch from the
the
catcher.
pitch.
What's coming next?
Yes.
It's the guy's, he's a freak.
Well, I told
the other 2 stats on Max. We've talked about this before. Most Gold Gloves in history.
Yeah.
For any position player, and he's the all-time leader in consecutive seasons stealing a base without getting caught.
Dude
Maybe
looks
just
like,
one a year.
And he looks like a
Never got
math
caught.
looks like a math
Should
teacher.
be doing my taxes.
Yeah,
not playing baseball.
It's just there's so many good. He's one of those that if you could just clone that brain. But I'll tell y'all something as golf coaches too. If you're
And
not,
he never really threw it more than about 93 miles an hour. That's
87,
I was about to say,
88.
if he
Yeah.
broke
Yeah.
90, he was huffing.
So I'll tell
I heard him
y'all.
say that. He's like, I could. I just don't need to.
I show this to my kids on the golf team every year. I'll tell y'all this if y'all haven't done this already. They're talking about the professor basically. There is a video, and it is an interview on the Faraday show, and it's Phil Mickelson. And David Faraday makes a statement about hitting, just says, you're a genius with your wedges. He goes, "What are you thinking when you go up to a shot?" And just hold on, because it is literally 8 straight minutes of Mickelson going through his thought process of hitting a wedge. Everything from, is the ground wet? Is the blades of grass against me or with me? He goes, am I above my feet? Am I below my feet? What wedge am I hitting? Which of my 3 swings per wedge am I hitting? He goes through it all. I'm just and I show it to players, and I know they look at me probably thinking, "Man, coach is crazy." I don't know what but it's like having Da Vinci go, "Well, here's what I was thinking as I was painting this. This is how this works." It's incredible. To hear those guys,
Well, and expanding on that a little bit, especially when we're talking about the kids that we're going to be coaching, is have they thought that in depth about the interaction between the grass, the club, the ball,
Nope.
water in the grooves, water on the ball? What's the interaction going to create? Are you going to get the spin? Are you going to get the side spin, the back spin? What's happening with that? And being able to coach them into the idea of saying, look, your conditions matter. Keeping your clubs clean matter. Having the grooves clean.
wiping your ball off
wiping
on the
your ball
green.
off on the green. And checking, is the ball below your feet? Is it above your feet? Are you hitting uphill? Are you hitting downslope? Ball position, things like that. By the time they're at this age, they probably haven't calculated all of those things. Now, maybe social media and some of these things have taught them a little bit. We didn't have that. So it's like now you're going, oh gosh, well my swing angle is this.
Yeah.
I'm steep, so if
Yeah. That drives me crazy.
I'll tell you one thing, and I catch myself doing it, and I have to tell my guys this all the time. Like, we're on the range, and it's just, I guess it's human nature. They'll just get up there, and they're like a ball-hitting machine, just
Yep.
wow. And I'm like, and they haven't seen it. Luckily, I've been to a few tour events and got to see pros on the range and stuff. Man, those guys aren't hitting. They might be hitting 1 or 2 balls a minute. Like, they're taking their time, adjusting their grip every time they hold the club. Like, the routine's the same on everything they do.
Yep.
They're not just getting up there and hitting balls.
They're hitting with a purpose.
Yeah, they've got a purpose behind every swing they make.
They know what shot they're going to have to hit on this specific hole, and now we're going to
Practice
that
like you
specific-
play.
Yeah.
Right.
Practice like you play.
And I think the kids get up there and they're just like, I'm on the range, I'm hitting. If it just goes far and straight, I'm good. Well, no, let's find a distance.
Yeah.
Let's hit it a distance.
Pick a target.
Yeah, something.
Yep.
So that's
I'll
one
never
thing.
forget there, Gage Smith out in Lafayette a few years back that won the region once or twice and played at Valdosta State. And I remember asking him, I said, what's your warm-up? When you get on the range, are you hitting how many drivers, how many out? He said, I hit a 7-iron. That's all I hit. He said, I'm just worried about making contact, solid contact.
Just getting everything warmed up.
He said, it's just the swing.
Knocking the dust off.
Didn't matter. It was the swing. It was the contact.
Yeah.
And
That's it.
hard to argue with what.
Well, gentlemen, I want to thank y'all for obviously accepting my invitation on short notice, because I just reached out to y'all a couple days ago. But I want to thank you guys for coming on and being on with us, and I want to extend an invitation. Let's meet back here in 8 weeks to where we're hopefully talking about all 3 of us heading to state, which would be incredible, and would probably be the first time that has happened in a long time. I don't know that all 3 teams have ever gone in the same year.
Well,
I can't think of.
one thing before we do sign off, we haven't even mentioned about the Catoosa Cup.
Oh, that's right. Golly.
We need to talk about that a little
We
bit.
do need to bring that back up.
You had to bring up rock and roll.
I
had
know
it in
it's
the
my
bank,
my
but,
fault. Well, we I mean, as a veiled nod to my good old friend Stump Martin, back in the day in football, there was a thing called the Catoosa Cup, and it was back in Ringgold and Lakeview, and it gave them something to play for at the end of the year. So I went in a 3-year span, I went from being the youngest or the least tenured golf coach in Catoosa County to the most tenured in Catoosa County. And when these guys came on, we all got along really well. We started chatting back and forth. Marcus came by one day and we were like, what'd be cool if we all played each other together? Just make this a yearly thing. That way the kids get to know each other. That they look forward to it. So we decided it is, I don't have the schedule right in front of me. I think it's the 2nd week or 3rd week in April.
After spring break.
April.
Yeah, it's after spring break.
April 8th and April 10th.
We will play, it is going to be an 18-hole aggregate. So we're going to play 9 holes on Tuesday at Battlefield, 9 holes on Thursday at Windstone, and Superintendent Nix is going to come out and present the trophy to whatever school takes it. We're just doing the guys this year. Next year we'll expand and bring the girls involved as well. But whichever school takes the Catoosa Cup, takes the trophy home, it gets engraved with them for that one season. They hang on to it for the whole year, and then we bring it back out the next year, and we do this dance again, and we make this a yearly thing between the 3 of us.
I love seeing stuff like that. Walker does it for wrestling, and I know they do it for cross country too. So I think it's great.
It's just fun, man. I mean, it
Yeah.
gives the kids something.
Plus, I got all my schools there. At
I was gonna say you get all your schools there at one time, but it just gives us something fun to give them something to play for, and I think they'll all really enjoy it. So
Yeah, nothing like having county bragging rights for a year.
that's right.
Yeah, that's a big thing.
Well, guys, thank y'all for tuning in with us this afternoon. Obviously, some of you took you probably a little different route to get to us on YouTube, but it's probably going to be the way we're going to post the show from now, because YouTube does allow me to post us at a whole lot higher resolution rate and all that, so that's where I want to keep it. So we appreciate you guys coming on, watching the show with us. We will be back next week. Not sure yet what time and what day, because we've got to lay the schedule out and see how everything is. Scott and I'll get together on that, and we'll post something on Scenic City Sports on Facebook and let you guys know for sure where we're going to be as far as that goes. But thank you guys for tuning in. We'll catch you next week, and catch you on the flip side.
Well, the days are short and the nights are long. A room slowly fills with song. All I need is one reminder. Parkway, blue blinders. Well, I begged and cheated and I borrowed for my life upon the road. I'm still looking for some gold at the end of my rainbow. Yes, and someday I will find her on the Parkway, blue blinder.
Someday I will find her
Yes, and someday I will find her
on the Parkway, blue blinder.
on the Parkway, blue blinder.
On the Parkway.
Sit on the Parkway on an autumn day. Yes, and leaves fall like confetti in a New York parade on the Parkway on an autumn day. Yes, and leaves fall like confetti in a New York parade. In a strange way, I know I care. You and me in truth or dare. So into my love's eyes I stare. Perfect circles in a square. Yes, and some